I'm sure that for many of you, that refrain evokes a memory or two. Personally, it's a soundtrack of my childhood. It calls to mind a slim man in a sweater, carefully changing his shoes. It's a trolley ride to the land of make-believe on a cozy afternoon. Mr. Rogers taught me how crayons are made and what to do with the mad that we feel. And of course, Mr. Rogers taught us what it means to be a neighbor. Today, that refrain also takes me back to a moment at the end of this summer. Sitting in the Desert Ridge movie theater, popcorn long discarded as the credits began to roll, I found myself weeping, reaching for tissues and a reason for my tears as the lights came on at the end of the documentary about the legacy of Fred Rogers, Won't You Be My Neighbor? For those of you who haven't seen it, my apologies for the spoilers. The movie revisits the impact of the show and the philosophy of the man, a trained minister and an expert in child development who used television to teach children, you are special just the way you are. Over the years, Mr. Rogers talked to us about death, divorce, and war. He didn't hesitate to address difficult topics with his pint-sized viewers. And he even gave adults language for our most difficult moments. When facing tragic events, he advised us to always look for the helpers. He said, quoting his mother, "If you look for the helpers, you'll know that there's hope." After reading a thorough roundup of movie reviews, I've learned that I'm not the only viewer who was moved to tears. Mr. Rogers' recipe of neighbors before naysayers is a stark contrast to the divisive nature of our world today. As we dry our eyes and leave the theater, we realize that we now have to navigate our world without the timeless, brave, hopeful wisdom of Fred Rogers. In just a few moments, we will read from Parshat Nitzavim. It is a moment of gathering. All walks of Israelite life stand to take their place in holy partnership. Moses gathers the elders, the officials, the men, the women, and the children. It is a gathering so impactful, so foundational that we too are gathered. Atem nitzavim hayom, we stand today, all of us. Our elders are here. Last week in our second Rosh Hashanah service, we wished a happy 98th birthday to one of our members. Our officials are here. Our youngest children enjoyed their tot service early this morning, and each one of us filling this room is a part of the reason for standing together on this most holy day of the year. From tribal head to water drawer, from the first-timer in temple to us rabbis on the bima, as it says in Parshat Nitzavim, you stand this day, all of you. A meaningful gathering like this doesn't just happen. Yes, synagogue staff can schlep boxes of books, lovingly transport the Torahs and check tickets. But none of these actions help us to decipher what we are really doing here, what we truly stand for, or why it's important to gather together in this space. Priya Parker, the author of The Art of Gathering, How We Meet and Why It Matters, urges readers to consider the true purpose of a gathering before it occurs. Every gathering should be a gathering about something. Atem nitzavim hayom, we stand here today. But why? Why us? Why here? Well, we're here because it's Yom Kippur. Parker teaches us to zoom out, to assess the purpose of our gathering, to state that purpose and then dig deeper, go bigger. A purpose is not a category. A purpose is a reason, a deeper reason for why. So why are we here today? Okay, we are here to atone. We are here to forgive. Perhaps we're here because if we weren't, Bubby would be devastated. In other words, we are not just here because it is Yom Kippur. We are here because this is what Jews do on Yom Kippur. Still, we could have accomplished the fasting and the atoning by watching the live stream in our pajamas. Something beckons us here to this shared space. So let's try again. We are here because this is our community, and Judaism is more than each one of us. We are here because our people are here. As essayist Harry Golden wrote, "My friend Garfinkel goes to shul to talk to God. I go to talk to Garfinkel." Digging even deeper. We are here because Yom Kippur is tough. And it means facing the hardest parts of ourselves, and that can be painful. And when we face the darkness and the rawness and the realness of what it means to be human, we see that everyone around us is beating their chests too. We are not alone in our failings, and we are not alone in our striving. Judaism is not a religion of isolation. We didn't stand at the foot of Mount Sinai alone, and we aren't alone here today either. Okay, so that's a reason. Later in our afternoon service, we will read, "Love your neighbor as yourself. Ve'ahavta l'reacha kamocha." This text comes from the core of the middle parsha in the center book of the Torah. The commandment to love your neighbor is literally the beating heart of our tradition. We learned it from Torah long before we learned it from PBS. Our neighbors are not just the people who live next door, but the people who surround us in our sacred purpose. We are not just people in a neighborhood, but a people reaching for a common good. Mr. Rogers taught us that a neighborhood is a place where we can talk about uncomfortable topics and still be loved for who we are. While we come from all over, this congregation is our neighborhood. Author Ron Wolfson explains that if we seek out relationships with community, with family, with friends, and with God, something beyond ourselves, it can lead us to a life that is filled with meaning. It is both our joy and our responsibility to take each other past the point of schmoozing and meet one another at the heart. Ve'ahavta l'reacha kamocha. Mr. Rogers showed us how to not just know our neighbor, but to love our neighbor when he chatted with 10-year-old Jeff Erlanger about what it was like to use an electric wheelchair and sang with him, "It's you I like." Or when in 1969, he cooled his feet in a plastic pool alongside his African-American friend, Officer Clemens. This was not only a lovely way to spend a warm afternoon, but also a purposeful act of protest against segregated swimming pools. We learned to dig deep, beyond small talk, and into the ideas that connect us to one another. In the coming weeks, I look forward to reintroducing a long-standing CBI project. We don't need to cry for the nostalgia of neighborhood when we have the opportunity to build it here together. Rather than weeping alone, we can be a shoulder to cry on. We are a community that stands together, gathering with purpose at the foot of the mountain on our holiest days of reflection, during joyful celebrations, and in our times of need. The Welcome Home Project began here at CBI in 2010, through the vision and hard work of then President Stephen Bandler and our Rabbi Stephen Kahn. In 2012, it was endowed through a very generous gift to our Fund for the Second Century by Steve and Suzanne Hilton. Rabbi Kahn envisioned the Welcome Home Project as a response to the issues of creating, maintaining, and making sacred the relationships that we have with each other. The work is based on our mission: to create a holy community with Jewish values and responsibilities at our core, through working groups focused on welcoming new members, creating community connections, sharing joyful celebrations, and establishing a caring community to shelter each other as we weather life's storms. In reestablishing the Welcome Home Project, we tap the heart of Torah, Ve'ahavta l'reacha kamocha. We are a community that gathers in love, in compassion, in celebration and connection. I'll be looking for your help as we relaunch this project. I look forward to meeting many of you who know our history and can help us to elevate the many, many ways in which we are already accomplishing our mission. I will also be looking for some new faces, perhaps people who are not yet deeply involved, to help us identify new opportunities to connect. Let's notice the ways that we gather and recommit to doing so with our sacred purpose at the forefront. As Rav Kook taught, what is old, you will make new, and what is new, you will make holy. On Yom Kippur, we look backwards and ahead. We can never again be who we were, the Israelites standing at Sinai, the children enthralled with the man on TV, the community that we were 8 years ago. And yet, as we stand today, we gather with clear purpose. We uphold the past with our eyes on the future, a holy community that has always and will always meet at the heart. So, let's make the most of this beautiful day. Since we're together, we might as well say, would you be mine? Could you be mine? Won't you be my neighbor?